Welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host today, guys, John Natale, for episode 97, Getting Real about Comparison. Today, guys, we are going to break down one of the hardest things about being in real estate, maybe even just honestly existing in today's 2025, going into 2026 world, comparison. Everything that comparison takes away from you, how it is stealing your energy, your focus, and your confidence. We're going to break down where the pressure to compare comes from, how to get out of the comparison trap, and how to actually start getting some confidence and actually start winning again. This is not only going to be a headspace, a type of episode, it is also going to be very tactical on what you need to do to get over the comparison game. If we're all being honest, it's going to break you down. It's keeping you from your capabilities, and you need to address it now. This episode is for you. Before we dive in, I have to take a second to thank you, just for listening to this podcast. Whether you've been with us here at Getting Real from the very beginning, or you are just starting to join us now, I am so damn appreciative of you for being here, for listening, taking time out of your busy day, out of your busy life to listen to this message. Man, you have no idea how much I appreciate it. If you're here in the state of New Jersey or down in the sunshine state of Florida, Natale Realtors is open down in Florida. We've been open for years here in New Jersey. And if you're looking for a dynamic real estate company that also has the opportunity to earn 100% of your commission, everything you need, nothing that you don't, all the coaching, the training, the support, the opportunity to grow, and you also keep all of your hard-earned money. If you're looking for this type of company, Natale Realtors may be for you. There is a very easy link below to book a call with me. It is completely confidential. There is zero pressure. This is the time of year to be moving. As things start to slow down, as things get to the holidays, before you ramp up into the spring market next year, right now is the time. If you're thinking about a move, you're here in New Jersey, you're here in Florida, absolutely book a call with me. If you're in one of the other 48 states or across the world at this point, and you're looking to not only grow your personal brand, but you're looking to grow a profitable real estate business, you're looking to grow your life, you're looking to become an attraction magnet, you're looking to have fun in real estate, you're looking to grow a profitable and sustainable business, if that all sounds like what you're looking for, Natale Coaching is probably the program that can help you get there. We have very limited space for coaching clients. If you are interested in discussing Natale Coaching with me personally, there is a link below to not only get more information, but also book your discovery call for free with me. There were a handful of coaching clients that started at this point last year at the end of 2024 that have absolutely exploded their lives, exploded their businesses, and everything is completely different for them than it was a year ago. I want that to be you. Book your call with me today if you are thinking about it. Now let's dive in and let's get real about comparison. Let's first talk about why comparison happens. Why is it so easy in today's world, and especially today's real estate world? There's two big factors here. One is that times have changed. Social media has changed. The real estate industry has changed. You are no longer playing by the rules of 1995, of 1982. The world is completely different. Our exposure is completely different, and you need to understand that for comparison's sake and to start to realize why comparison is such an issue, not only for you, but for many other people in the real estate industry. You used to just worry about, hey, maybe who are the other agents in our office? Now, this public information and a lot of national franchises, a lot of virtual brokerages, you are seeing the results of people across the country at all different price points, all different markets, all different settings, and all different modes of business, all thrown at you at once. You also go onto social media, and you don't just see what your neighbor's doing. You don't just see what your brother's doing. You don't just see what your sister's doing. You don't see what everybody at church is doing after Mass on Sunday. You are not just seeing who's in your neighborhood. You are seeing the entire world. You are seeing everybody else's highlights while you also think about your lowlights. You are seeing everybody's outside and success when you are also not factoring in that you are going through a typical day in a typical life. All of these things combined is one of the biggest factors why comparison starts to happen. There's so much more to compare to. That's the first and honest truth. The second biggest reason is because you solely see what somebody wants you to see, especially on social media, and you also see a very public setting for real estate. Real estate are public sales. The numbers are public, the exposure is public, but the nitty gritty, you do not see. So you see a record-breaking sale. You see $100 million in volume. You see a GCI of 500,000. You see $1 million team. You see 10 new recruited agents, but you don't see the time, you don't see the energy, you don't see the capital that it took to get all of that. For some, a very small sum, it's by a stroke of luck. The vast majority gave up time, they gave up energy, and they gave up capital to get to where they are. And you're not seeing any of that in terms of what you see publicly in real estate. You see a $30 million sale and your numbers go, wow, they made that much. You don't know if they're charging them $500 to sell that house. You don't know if they're charging them $5 million. You don't know if they charged them $150,000, $200,000 and spent $125,000. You have no idea. So you are starting, because of the way social media operates and our public sales operate and the way companies look at statistics, operate, you are looking to very public numbers that are shared, but without any of the context involved, right? We look at and we see, wow, they have mega team. They have $100 million in volume. Well, if the $100 million in volume is one thing, and that led to $3 million in commissions, but the business expenses of the team, the company, whatever, or the individual agent's business was $2,900,000, everyone's looking at them as if they are a $3 million producer. But in reality, they made $100,000. And then you take someone who's out in the middle of nowhere, and they sold 20 houses and made $150,000. And they did it with their sphere and their community and social media and everything that was offered to them without spending $1. And they went out and earned it. Nobody's comparing themselves to that person. Nobody's saying, wow, they have a way more profitable business. Nobody's saying, wow, this is a lot more sustainable. This is a very dramatic example, but nobody does this in the real estate industry. Companies don't celebrate profitable success. Nobody looks at a team when you're at a virtual brokerage, you're at a franchise brokerage, and they compare numbers. Nobody compares numbers of profit. Nobody compares numbers of years experience. Nobody compares numbers of what it actually takes to get where people got. We just look at a baseline number. And that's why it's very easy in this industry to compare. Same thing happens on social media. You may look at someone and be like, wow, how the hell do they have 46,000 followers? They could have bought them. They could have been posting on social media for the last 15 years. They could have been doing something else before they did real estate, and that's where their following is from. There's a million different variables here, guys. But we are comparing those public numbers without knowing what went in to get that. That is one of the biggest problems. And when you grow that with the first problem of just this mass exposure and just living outside of just what your neighborhood is or your company is or the team of agents you're with is, that is a perfect storm to constantly compare yourself. And that's why we're in the issue. We're having the problem we're having so much in this industry and in this society about comparison. It's why it's taking you off your game. Because here are the damages that comparison actually do to you. The first biggest one is you start chasing success that is not yours. I related to this so much when I got down this path of how to get over comparison myself, where I looked at certain teams, certain agents, certain companies, certain anything in this industry. I said, well, why are so many agents going there? Especially when I started this company. Why are so many home sellers going with that agent? When our marketing is better, our social media presence, nobody does what we do. Nobody has the following we have in our market. When it comes to growing a team, growing a company, I pour my heart and soul into helping the agents at our company. It's a testament that the agents that started with us 6 years ago are still here to this day and flourishing. I know how much I care. I know how much I put into it. However, it's very easy to say, well, Dan, they added 10 agents. Why can't we add 10 agents? Dan, they sold another listing. Why can't we have gotten that listing? It is so easy to do that. But here's the problem you run down. You start chasing that version of success. Again, you don't know what went into it. You don't know what they're giving up. You need to know what your version of success is. We're going to talk about that as a tactical step. But you start chasing it and you start going after it. You start resembling what they're doing rather than going after what your version of success is. That's one of the biggest problems with comparison. You start changing your vision, your consistency, your abilities. You start channeling it all towards a version that you don't even want to be. And that has to absolutely stop. And we do it subconsciously. So we're going to have to get out of the trap. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Another big issue that happens is you stop being consistent because nothing you feel like you're doing is good enough. That is a huge problem. And I struggled with it a lot, whether it's with content, whether it's just in business, trying to get things done. You feel like you're not good enough because you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And the moment I snapped out of that, everything started to change. Once you stop comparing yourself to others, and you realize you are good enough, damn, you are fearless, you're consistent, you get things done, and your business grows. And when it comes to social media especially, I think one of the biggest downsides of comparison is you lose that creative spark. I talk about this with a lot of people that I coach, I work with, or just speak about in terms of social media. For a lot of people, one of the best things social media is a creative outlet. A lot of us are actually creative souls, and being able to create something out of nothing is a really powerful tool just for our soul, not necessarily just our business. The fact that it works so well for our business is mind-blowing because you get to scratch that creative itch without being an actual artist. And at the same time, your business absolutely explodes. But here's the thing. If you're constantly trying to copy someone on social media, you're going to lose that creativity. You're going to lose that spark because what makes you is the most important thing. And the last piece that it really damages is the fact that you don't show up as yourself, especially when you're trying to compare and especially when you're trying to copy. I talk about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a lot when it comes to this. In social media, I give people the advice that you need to have an alter ego. For me, it is Jersey John. Jersey John is not different from John Natale. It's John Natale at an elevated personality. That's having an alter ego. I'll most likely have an episode specifically on this. But for comparison's sake, what happens is if you are constantly comparing yourself and you're constantly trying to be someone you're not, even if you achieve it, you don't show up as yourself. So if I tried to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where The Rock is Dwayne Johnson's alter ego, it's an elevated personality of Dwayne Johnson. But Dwayne Johnson doesn't roll around his house doing exactly what The Rock does. And it's the same thing in the Natale household. But if I wanted to be exactly like The Rock, and I wanted to be exactly like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I emulated their entire style, yes, maybe it would do well on social media. But when people would go to meet me, it would be two completely different people. And that could really, really damage your business because that person they are meeting is not the person they are meeting every single day and showing up for them on social media. So comparison, again, it can get you down the wrong road on social media and especially in real estate. I personally see this a lot with new agents, and this is what I always call the new agent trap, where you come into this business, you try something for business, you try it for 3 months, then you see someone else doing something successful, and then you're like, oh, I can do that. They're doing it. You go and do that for another 3 months. Then you say, this isn't working. Let me go do this other thing 3 months. I do that for 3 months. Then I try an open house for 3 months. We do this, that, and another thing. And then when you wake up, you're 12 months in, you've tried a few different things, but you gave nothing enough time to actually work. And it's because, whether it's shiny object syndrome, whatever it is, but you're comparing what you're doing right now to what you're seeing other people do. And they might have been prospecting when you said, oh, prospecting works. Maybe they were prospecting for the last 6 years. And then you only gave it 3 months and then you hopped to something else. That is where I see the comparison game. One of the hardest spots to see it happening in real time is right in front of you as a new agent. And what you want to do is start to reframe comparison. It's not about eliminating it 100%. You'll get over comparison, but I see reframing comparison as a skill you can learn. And one of the most important points I'm going to make here is going from comparison to consistency. Rather than obsessed and scrolling and doing all this stuff, comparison or scrolling people's numbers to see what they're doing in the MLS, instead of all that, get obsessed and get disciplined with consistency in your business. So whether you're picking up the phone, whether you're doing open houses, whether you're doing networking events, whether you're doing social media, I don't care. The millions of different things you can do for business and real estate, I don't care what it is, but get obsessed with the consistency. For me, that was back in 2015 when I started making phone calls. I didn't become obsessed with comparison. I didn't say, oh, because so-and-so is doing it, I have to do it at that level. I just got obsessed with consistency, doing it Monday through Friday. Same thing now for social media. 2 years ago when I started this journey, it wasn't about, oh, I need to have the same numbers as this person, same numbers as this person. I started on social media in a certain sense because of comparison. I said, damn, I have something to say. If this guy, this girl, this person could do this and get this much reaction and this many people reaching out to them, I sure as hell, after 15 years at that point in real estate, have the experience, have the knowledge, have the wisdom, have the ability to figure this thing out, and I will put myself out. So comparison can sometimes be good if it fires you up, right? And it gets you to become super consistent. Then my metric was not, oh, now I'm at 1,000, now I'm at 10,000, now I'm at 20 or 30,000. It was never about that. It was simply about showing up consistently day in and day out, every single day, having a piece of content go out. That is what became the most important thing to me, and that is what helps you get over the comparison game. Much like I talked about before in terms of success, where you start working towards somebody else's version of success, the second thing you need to do to reframe comparison is to define what success actually looks like to you. This was one of my most important journeys when it came to overcoming comparison and reframing comparison. Because here's what happens. In our head, again, we look at all these other things. We compare, but we don't actually write down what is successful to us. Wow, that looks successful to have 50 agents. Wow, that looks successful to sell $100 million of real estate. But what is successful to you? That becomes the ultimate question. And when I did this, I realized, and I did it a while ago, for me, it was never about being the number one agent. It was never about being the person that was most recommended on Facebook, even though we all know it's all BS anyway, but it was never about being that person. It was never even about having the biggest social media following in my area, which I do. It was never about that. It was about impact on the amount of people I can help. It was impact on the people I can bring with me. So from my knowledge, from my wisdom, from all this that I've obtained in real estate, who are the people around me, the team that can come with me, earn money, help people, and just grow this thing past myself? It was about being there for my family. I coach my son's soccer team. I coach my son's flag football team. I'm at most of his jiu-jitsu classes, either myself or my wife is. And when I defined what success was, it was waking up and working towards something that I'm passionate about every day of my life. And I know I hit that because when my head wakes up off that pillow, and I'm one of those psychos who wake up at 4 a.m., I'm not sitting there debating my life, debating what I'm going to go do that day. I know I have an important mission. I have an important thing to do. I have a business, a company, several companies that I care deeply about, people that I work with that I care deeply about, and I have a beautiful family. And I want to find that balance. That's what it always was for me. That was what success was. I don't care if this company sells $200 million of real estate, but then I can't coach my son's soccer team. That's not success to me. If I had 500 agents at Natale between New Jersey and Florida, but I never made a flag football game, I didn't get to coach, and I never saw him play, it's not success to me. To others, it may be. That's what is important here. You don't have to have the same mission as me. You do not have to define success the same as me. And that's why you should also not compare yourself, if you have ever watched my Jersey John content, for you to say, wow, I want to be like that guy. It's okay for it to inspire you. But where you start to compare yourself and it gets you knocked off, that's where it becomes a problem. Because your success is not my success. And you need to define your success to start to reframe comparison. Because it's so easy in this industry. It's so easy to look out and see, wow, they're selling so many houses. Someone may sell more homes than you this year. Someone may have a bigger following than you this year. But if you are starting to build the life that you want to live, I would argue you are the much more successful person. And that's why defining success becomes so damn important. And let's hit the few things you can do to get fully out of that comparison trap. And the number one thing is probably the most important, and it's what I did. So once I started just becoming obsessed with consistency, once I reframed comparison to be consistent, once I defined what success looks like to me, John Natale, the first thing I did is mute the people and mute the things that I'm comparing myself to. Yes, it is okay to unfollow, block, mute, whatever you want to do on social media for people that are drawing you away from what you want to actually be doing. If you sit there and watch their content and you feel less than, or even more than, it is not good for you. If that's the thing, if it takes you off your game or you are starting to compare yourself, boom, hold down, not interested. 3 buttons in the top right-hand corner. Click them. Little button in the bottom right, depending on the platform. Unfollow, mute, block. I don't care. Even if it's my content, I don't want you to block me. I want you to consume my content, not in a comparison way, but in inspiration, in a rip-off and duplicate and R&D type of way. But if you look at my content, you say, man, this guy gets it. He's awesome. I could never do that myself. Hold down my face and click not interested. Hold down my face and unfollow, because it's not bringing you any closer to where you want to be. So number one thing in terms of comparison is mute the people that take you away from your mission. A lot of people will be like, oh, that's so immature. You can't just not watch it or just get over comparison. No, unfollow, mute, block, do whatever you need to do. I'm being 100% honest. It will be one of the best things you could ever do for yourself as you are starting this journey. Just as important as getting consistent rather than comparing, just as important defining success. One of the most tactical steps you could do is mute the things that are taking you away from taking you towards comparison and taking you away from consistency. Just like defining what success is, the second step of getting over comparison and to truly get out of the trap is to define what your actual metrics are. And this for me was never about growing a following. This was never about a dollar amount. This was never about the physical amount of sales or volume. This was how can I grow my impact? This is showing up consistently. And how do I measure those metrics? So sometimes it's measuring just the amount of calls you made, to the amount of appointments you got, to the amount of emails you got, to the amount of videos I'm putting out, to the amount of leads that are coming back from those videos. But it's never about the end result as the only way for you to feel success. Because if you get obsessed and define your metrics, for me, it's did I attend every single practice? It's one of them. Practicing game for soccer and football this year. And over the last 10 or so weeks from when football started, and the last 8 or so weeks since soccer started, I missed one practice. And it was when we were doing our nationwide Natale retreat here in New Jersey. I missed one football practice. So if that's where I'm defining my success, I'm now looking at that metric and go, damn, that's pretty successful. We practice once a week and we have a game once a week for both sports. That's 4 times a week. And I missed one of them over the last 10 weeks. So we'll round up, make it easy, and say 39 out of 40. That's pretty damn successful. That's what I mean by defining your metrics, okay? We work on this in our coaching, especially now at the end of the year, is about getting obsessed, not with the end result. Like you could have you want to be a certain weight goal. I don't care. Get obsessed with what the actual steps are going there. Do you track your food every day? Do you walk 10,000 steps? Do you exercise 3 times a week? Those are the things you want to get obsessed about. The consistency of those, that's what's actually going to bring the end result. One of the most important parts of comparison is to start defining those metrics. And the last thing you can do, and you probably hear this enough, but I think it is so damn important to get tactical about when exactly to do it, and that is to show gratitude. And it's a lot easier said than done, to be perfectly honest, consistently. So here's how I show gratitude, is every single night, I write down 3 things that went really well that I'm grateful for that day. Doesn't have to be huge, but 3 things that went well that I'm grateful for. Every single morning when I wake up and I'm journaling, I start it with some of the highs and lows of the day before, some areas we won, some areas we lost, and I always end it right in that moment, something I'm super grateful for. So being grateful for your growth, looking out and saying, wow, I've done this consistently for 6 months. I've done this consistently for 3 days. I don't really care. But being grateful for the things you're doing will shift your entire mindset towards comparison, because you can't build confidence. You can't build something substantial. Because you can't build confidence, you can't build something substantial if you're constantly comparing yourself to others. It's about taking your growth, looking at it, taking the small wins day after day, week after week, month after month. Because once you stop comparing yourself, once you stop scrolling, and you start showing up for what success is for you, you will find it. It's one of the best parts about this, guys, is there's a path to freedom from comparison. If you follow everything that was in this podcast today, you will get there. I promise you. And if you found this helpful, if you found this episode helpful, I really hope you take a second to share with a colleague, share with a friend, share it to your Instagram story, tag me, DM me, send me any questions you guys got. I'm so damn appreciative you're here. I'm so damn appreciative you're listening. And I genuinely hope if comparison was an issue for you before this episode, you work over the next month or 2 on some of these steps and really start to reframe it for yourself. Because a better version of you is on the other side.